It's cheaper than therapy.
Yep. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Money Marriage
Magic. Welcome, guys. I'm Jess.
And I'm Zack.
We are filming during the day, which is something we never do.
Feels good.
It's different.
The only difference that you'll see is
I don't think it's appropriate to have wine at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. So it's a coffee kind of talk today.
This could turn into a whole other podcast of why you maybe shouldn't drink during the day. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
You should drink
No, why
during
you
the day?
shouldn't.
Oh, I was
if
like,
we had wine in there.
Oh my God, we're starting to get real loopy up in here.
That'd be not good. So whoever is doing good, I don't even know what day it is of the week, but that's what happens when you have kids and a lifestyle that we live and run businesses. And
yeah, we had a crazy weekend.
I don't even know.
It was fun.
Feels like Monday, but it's actually Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It's because we kind of took yesterday off.
Yep, took Aria out of school for a life experience, which I'm good with.
I like the way you put that, for a life experience. I wouldn't have so elegantly put that. I would have been like, we were
to go swim in a pool.
We were bad parents and we just took her out of school. No, it was we were away for the night. It was really fun. But we're back. Season 2, episode something.
Yes, something. We just film them. We type it in the comments and type it in the description later, and then you guys get to watch it and enjoy. So
if you've learned anything about us so far, we're not overly calculated, prepared people. Like, we kind of do a lot of things on a whim. Hence, we have no episode that's supposed to drop for you guys tomorrow. So we're filming it the day before. Then that's just how
we're the most scheduled people.
That's how it goes. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about like how you were brought up, and then how it's affected you, and then how it's affected your kids. And I think there's so much subliminal things that go on that you don't even think has affected you as a kid, and then affected you growing up or raising your kid. And I think talking about it today is going to open up our brains like, I didn't even know that is the reason why I do this.
I know that you and I had like polar opposite upbringing. We've talked about this before. Remember one time, like a long time ago, I got you to fill out, like we filled out all these papers. Like we went on a date night and we filled out like a bunch of like questions, and that was really fun. And I remember being like, oh wow, your upbringing was wildly different than mine. I mean, and rightfully so. We're two different people with two different parents, totally. But I mean, I remember sitting there thinking like, wow, I did not experience a lot of the things that you experienced.
I mean, I was going to ask, is there a wrong way to bring a kid up? And I think there is definitely things you shouldn't do. But in a way of like invoking their rules and regulations as a parent to the kid. Of course, no kid's going to listen to you. Like, that's a wise statement, Dad. Thanks.
I mean, it just all comes full circle, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was actually talking to my mom yesterday, and I just told Zack this. And, she was like, I'm really proud of you. You guys are great parents. Like, I really couldn't ask for more from my children, like, through all the walks of your life and all the things I've seen you do. And, I was like, oh, thanks, Mom. Like, I was like, that's really, really touching. But, like, I guess to see it full circle, right? Like, you raise them. They go through like their teenage, and we're going to kind of touch on all these little parts, their teenage years, their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, so on and so forth, right? They become adults and they become parents, then they're grandparents and all of that. Like it's got to be wild.
It's crazy. So let's just start. Like, how was your childhood, memories, experiences? How do you think your upbringing was? I don't know if you scale it 1 to 10, 10 being the best. I don't know if you're just like, it was just head ups, head downs, I think is a normal upbringing.
Yeah, I would say mine was probably quite different from most. Reason being, my parents were foster parents when I grew up. I think I was in first grade when they decided to start bringing in foster kids. So I think...
And Aria's second grade right now?
Yeah. My upbringing, I think, is incredibly different from a lot of people just strictly because of that. So I have a biological younger sister and a younger brother, but we always had like teenage girls living with us. I think we had 2 boys.
I mean, you had an extended family.
Crazy, but like they would come and go. Some would be there.
Kind of had a choice.
Like some would be there for a week. Some would be there for months. Some would be there for years. Some moved provinces with us. I'm from Canada. If you haven't picked up on some of my accents and weird things that I say. But I mean, I would say my childhood was always kind of busy. Like there was a million people in our house.
So how do you think that shaped you and your personality growing up?
Well, I was really, really shy as a kid, like to a point of like painfulness. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. You would think that it would have had like a reversed role, but it totally didn't.
Having them make you shyer?
I don't know. I'm the oldest of 3, but there was always an older teenager in the house. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think I was so little, you don't know what's really happening. And then, you know, you mold and you develop and you change, and then you don't think about it. And then you try to go back and think about it as an adult. And it's like, I don't know. I can't really figure that out.
If you could go back and maybe just like, you know, it would have been nice if it was just me, my brother, and my sister.
Absolutely.
You would. You would go back.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like when I say, is there a right or wrong way to upbring or raise your child?
This was the form,
because you may not have become the person you are.
Oh, I fully wouldn't be. But however, like this was my mom's form of income. Like this is like, you know, like that's how she was able to be a stay-at-home mom with us for that many years.
Do you think it'd been the same if, let's say, she ran a daycare and, I mean, because they were sleeping in your house too, so.
This is such like a touchy subject. I don't know. Here's the thing. Like most children that are in foster care are in there for not very pretty reasons. You know what I mean? Like they're coming in from abusive families or like all sorts of things. And we're talking teenage girls. So like, I think we were exposed to things that most kids wouldn't technically be exposed to in their life in a semi-normal situation.
Did you know their situation at that time?
As we got older and like some you know, kids would come and stay with us. Yeah. Like we'd be made aware of certain things, or like,
do you remember
you could overhear your parents talking or, you know what I mean? Like I knew that like they weren't just coming to live with us because they chose to, like, and like a lot of the times they didn't want to be there either. Like they were coming out of like, you know, like group homes.
Did they ever say, hey, your cousin Charlie's coming to stay with us for a month?
Oh God, never.
They said, they like laid down the law of, here, these kids are,
they wouldn't lie to us.
No.
Okay. They never lied to us. Well, they probably did for safety reasons or things like that. But like we had some people live with us who had a really hard life, like really hard.
Do you think having them at your house made you appreciate more stuff? Because you're like, wow, I thought I had it bad. Or do you think at that age,
I never thought I had it bad.
Yeah.
Like I never really.
Not that you had it bad.
I never thought that I had it bad. I never thought, like, I always thought we had, you know, what we needed. We had more than enough. We always had a roof over our head that was a really good roof. We got to, you know, we didn't go on like big trips like how we take Aria on these huge trips and stuff. But there was like 3 of us plus at any given time 2 to 4 more foster kids living in our house.
2 to 4, 4 plus 3, so 7
yeah,
kids.
Like so we camped a lot. Like that was our means of like travel and getting out. And I loved it. Like now as adults and taking Aria, we love, like I love camping. Like if we could camp more, I'm so down for it. But I think that's part of my childhood that I like love and like hold on to the most. But that was just a lot about me. So what about you?
I mean, my upbringing was pretty regular, you know, grew up in a neighborhood, 2 brothers, 1 sister, friends of the neighborhood.
And you're like the middle of the middle.
Super middle class neighborhood, you know, not the greatest, not the safest, not the best, you know, don't go 4 blocks that way, but you know, this is the zone, you know, but you know, I think the upbringing has changed a lot from our parents to us. You know, even though everybody doesn't call themselves an umbrella parent, I think we just are, everybody umbrellas their kids way more because we have more knowledge out there and more things that are flooding our brains of what you should and shouldn't do or what's out there.
Well, social media, like our parents didn't have social media.
Yeah. And I think that's the good and the bad.
They were just parenting the best they could by example.
Well, their social media were their friends.
Yeah, their friends, or by example,
like,
is how they were parenting.
Or the newspaper.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh gosh. The news.
The news. But I mean, it was. I mean, the thing is, I was going to ask, you know, what had an impact of you? Like I said, foster kids, and I'm trying to think like impact of me. I didn't really have any that I remember bad impacts. That's
I know,
it's
so crazy. Like, because I was like, do you remember your parents fighting, or do you remember like hard times, or do you remember? He's like, no. I'm like, no. Never. Like, you never. Like, you always felt like super secure, super. Like, my parents divorced when I was going into my 12th grade. It was like summer before 12th grade.
Mine was 21.
Yeah, so I was still in school. My brother and sister were still in school. So like I have a lot of like, you're old enough at that point to like really retain memories
you know what's up.
of like, yeah.
Because you had friends at the time that did, you know, they went through it, wherever it may be.
It was not fun.
But I think I didn't witness that because my mom just did not expose us to it.
Oh, but your mom is a vault. Oh, yeah.
She would suck it up and just throw away the key. I mean,
y'all, she lives with us.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't even know she's here.
So I think, look, this is is that good? Is that bad? You know, like, was it good that you visually saw your parents fight? Because there's an outcome to that. And like, oh my God, you know, maybe you learned how to talk it out subliminally and didn't even know. And like with me, I'm like, no, you don't fight. That's not what you do. But of course I had friends.
You know, which is kind of interesting because when we get into like arguments, I'll be perfectly honest with you, we really don't fight. Like, I hate you. No, I hate you. Slam the door. Rah, rah, rah. Like, depends what you think of fighting. Like, of course, we have disagreements. We are not perfect. And I think it's healthy to have disagreements. So please, I'm not saying that whatsoever. But you definitely coil back. Like, you're like, mm-mm.
So do you think that's from my upbringing? Like,
absolutely.
Because if my mom kept it all in and you never visually saw it, then you're like, you don't. Like, why? But I would say I would never advise anybody to do that.
You still have to communicate.
Because I'm against what my mom did to hold it in and not expose the kids to any of it. But then I'm not mad because of what I remember my upbringing being.
Sure.
So what do you do?
But it's communication. Like, I think you're doing that out of habit, right? Like, that's what you saw. So you mimic what you see, which isn't a bad thing. But then I think that like you have to remember that communication is key.
Yeah. So I think
even if you don't want to, like, you're like, well, if I just coil back, then we won't have a fight and then it won't blow up. True. However, it'll still be there. It has to work itself out. If it doesn't work itself out, then it will be a really big fight. So I do think it's better to like, you know, peel back a couple of layers and just try to like.
Yeah. I'm happy my mom did what she did. I'm not for it now raising our child, learning from that, because there is another option as let the kids see that, but then also talk to them about what, you know, let's say we were talking about and then how we came out of it and what, you know, this and that, because Ari will see us all the time and we're just like passionately talking. It could be about a vacation or something no, I don't want to stay there. Like, are you guys fighting? I'm like,
that's true. But we have to like, I do think, and I've read a lot of articles on this and I've followed a lot of like doctors and stuff on this, that it is important for your children to see you, you know, get into discussions, work through it and come through it in a peaceful manner, because like that's what they're going to see. That's what they're going to learn from. Right. And she'll ask us, you guys fighting? We're like, no, we're just having a heated conversation or we're just talking passionately about something. And then we'll, you know, get to the end and, you know, they're always watching. Like they're always watching.
Oh, yeah.
They're always listening. Like that kid is over my shoulder.
Like a third eye.
Who just texted you? I'm like, this isn't your phone. Get your butt away from here.
And also, Ari's 8.5. I think from 8 to 8.5, she wants to know everything. She wants everything we talk about.
What do you guys?
What was that about? Or what was that? And I'm like, you know. And sometimes it can be super annoying, but sometimes, you know, it's taking 10 seconds, 15 seconds to just explain something to a kid at that age because they're a sponge. It could be beneficial. So take advantage of those times where you are having a conversation and, you know, asking your kid, being like, you know, what did you hear? Whatever. Like, what did you think of that? Just curious before I start unloading what I think you should have heard. And, you know, you say it, listen to them talk, and then, you know, it's a teaching moment.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is a little bit off topic, but like, okay, growing up, were your parents affectionate with each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of the
Which
same
that
way.
would amaze me because your mom.
But I think kind of the same way I am to you, like 50% of the time, of just like the groping. I think. I do kind of remember like my dad.
There's a very hard
like
lesson to teach a husband. There is gently touching and caressing, and then there's groping.
I'm probably 60-40.
You're getting better.
Yeah. But see, exactly.
You're getting better.
Yeah.
But
if you don't,
together.
You know, if you don't say something to me, then how do I learn? So there's probably people out there that, you know, if you're a woman or a man, vice versa, and you're like, I hate this. But if you don't say anything, I mean, like, and there's also,
I don't want to be bent over picking something up and have him behind me go, like, go away.
It's not like that.
It's not, but you know what I mean? Like, if I am bent over and you like what you see, you can definitely come in and hug me and kiss me and give me a little rub or kiss me on the cheek. And, you know, like that, I'll take that. But the minute it feels...
But the other person has to know.
Yeah. Like, and I've told you that, and you have gotten better at it.
And there's got to be a right time and place to say it. Like if you're out on a date night, you're just in that calm, good spot. Like, hey, this is so off topic, but just randomly, like, I love, there's a way. It all comes back to communication, which we always think is the number one thing in a relationship. So, if someone doesn't say something, how is that person going to know?
Yes.
So you can't be mad if you never say anything.
The more you talk about it,
yeah,
the better. Like my parents, I grew up, they were affectionate, like goofy, affectionate with each other. And I know sometimes, like, I always try to make sure that we're modeling healthy affection for our human. You know what I mean? And like the other day I was like kissing Zach and just kind of, he's like, what do you think is like too much when we're like we're not like making out and groping each other and sticking hands everywhere. Like obviously it's very PG rated, but I was like, listen, I mean, she's going to see it, whether she sees it from us, others on a TV show.
True. Yeah, now's your time.
She's going to see it. So I'd rather her see it in a healthy fashion. And I think I saw it in a healthy fashion from my parents. You know what I mean? I really think they modeled it well, like being affectionate and being loving to each other. And I think that was something that, like, I look back and, like they could horse around and be goofy with each other, but they could also be like intimate with each other, which I think is important to model for a child. Agree.
How do you think you've developed your interests and your passions from, like, what's the influence that your parents, the kids, foster kids, how did they impact your interests and passions, like when you grew up?
If on the spot, I can't think of a single thing from my childhood that would have led me to like what I do today. Mm-hmm. Not a single thing.
I mean, the interests and passions, I think, come from, if you have an older sibling, they're very influential. I think everything my brother did, I would follow.
But there was always teenagers, but they would like come and go. So like I was the oldest, but was I very confusing.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, no, let's say sports. My dad was a very heavily sports and an advocate, because in Minnesota, there's so many parks. We could walk, there's so many. So we grew up playing sports and being at the park all the time. But my dad was a very active person. Softball, volleyball, soccer, like he played it, as an adult. So I think that's the influence, and that's a good influence.
That is a really good influence. I don't think my parents...
So my dad loved it. He was a videographer. His job everywhere was videotaping everything. So I love to do that now. Creative will probably heavily come from that. I love to cook. My mom loves to cook. Yeah, so, I mean, you have to, I
mean, I guess my mom loves to cook too. My mom, like, we had family dinners at home. Like, we didn't go out for dinner. It was like rare. Maybe on a Sunday, we'd go to the pool and we'd go to Bonanza, which was this like buffet place. That was like the big family excursion, like all load up into like the 15-passenger van. It was just so much chaos.
15-passenger van?
It was like orange and white. Bus? It was huge. It had like an extra like long in the back. It was orange and white. It stunk really weird. And it like
8 kids in there.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we'd all go swimming and like, but we ate at home. Like there wasn't like the way we go out.
Camp.
We never went out. Like, so I'm always trying to preach to Aria, like you're blessed. You have things in your life that, mommy and daddy didn't have those things. And a lot of kids still don't have. It's so hard to explain it to them.
So what were your dad's, what was his interest?
My dad worked.
Then? So, and he always in sales.
Yeah.
So how do you think you are as a person and look what you do now? You're in somewhat of a sales. You're in a place where you have a product that, not convincing, but you kind of have to be super convincing on educating that person on that product and wanting them to buy it. So I mean, like, who knows? Like you were in the service industry for many, many years. Yeah. That's another thing where you have to be the greatest salesman in the world.
True.
So who knows if your dad didn't do that? I have been in sales
all my life.
Yeah,
true. I've
brother followed suit.
I've never really thought of that. That's very true. Mm-hmm. That's very true.
All right. So what about the transition from being a teenager to a young adult? And I would say young adult would be, what age do you think young adult?
Well, I don't know. Like
13, 18 is adult. So then young adult is 16 to 18?
16 to 18. Sure. I mean.
So how did it change? How did the upbringing that they have instilled on you from the younger years to when, teenager to young adult?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a hard one for me because, like I was saying, where my parents divorced, it was really like we were left to our own. Like at this point, it was kind of like we've done the work. Like, good luck.
Like you're good, right?
Well, they were so occupied in their own.
Well, that's a whole other question about being divorced. Like, I mean, do they?
My mom was in a new relationship.
Do you think they were thinking about the kids?
I mean, I want to say yes. I mean, as a parent, yes. How could you not? But you're also in your own turmoil at this point. You have like, I mean, okay, so I was 17. That would put my sister at like 15, my brother at like 13-ish. I don't know. I mean, I guess it was just me and my age and their divorce. Whereas, like, once I went into 12th grade, it was like, you're on your own. Like, you have your own vehicle. Nobody makes your lunches for you. You know, I could literally live off whatever groceries were in the house. I got myself to and from sports. I had a job at that point.
Parenting kind of was put to the side because.
Yeah, for me,
or
yeah.
is that a good thing because they trusted that you were good to go?
I mean, that's a question for them, but I would say that they were a little occupied in what they were doing in life.
Yeah.
To be honest. Or, well, that's how it felt to me. Like, that's how it felt to me.
You think it's the same with your brother and sister?
It'd be a neat question to ask them. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever asked them that question, but I mean, they were younger and they stayed with my mom and I went with my dad. So I felt, I guess, more like I was just living my own life because like my siblings weren't there. Like I didn't have responsibility. Like if they would have been with me at my dad's, I probably would have had to like drive them to school and take care of them and stuff like that. But I didn't. I only had to look out for myself. And I was like, look, you guys choose to go there. I'm going to go here. It is what it is. Like I was old enough to get to make my own decision, I guess. I don't know. That's a crazy question. I've never really thought about that.
So yeah, I mean, if you look at you now, it seemed like that decision that was, of course, not planned, molded you and gave you the values and taught you a lot. You know, like
well, I've always been fine on my own. Quick. Like I've never had like it's been very rare that my parents had to help me out through like my teens, 20s. You know what I mean? Like I didn't rely on anybody. I just kind of relied on myself.
Did your brother and sister remember times of like having to catch the bus and being left and
I don't know.
Because
I don't
that's
know.
what I mean, like things like that.
But like I don't think they did after school sports like I did. Okay. I mean, my brother did hockey, which was different. Like you had to, yeah. That was different. Like yeah, you're like. But I don't remember. I don't know. Like
because going through those things in your upbringing, those things that probably weren't planned on purpose, of course, but it's just part of life and it's hard sometimes, molded you, could be into the person, all those experiences.
So what about for you?
There were times of like, you know, couldn't get home because I went to a different high school I went to different schools that were not in my district.
A bug in here. Yeah. Where are the cats? Where are the cats when we need them?
Got him.
Sorry, so distracted. Okay.
But I always would do a different school that was not in our district, so I had to find my own way there, either on a bus or if I wanted to go to someone's house after. You know,
but like you're a super self-sufficient person. Like you don't need anybody else to do anything. Like you walk to the beat of your own drum, you do your own thing, and you think that's probably why things like that. Like you've always been independent.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It has to be. I mean, what other influence do we have? I mean, kids now are going to be influenced by social and digital world, where we were friends and family. That's what influenced you.
Yeah, it's true.
And I mean, that's it. And TV shows and movies. So it's going to be a different world. So we need to, I think, pay way more attention now to influence the upbringing of our kids because there's so much more. But I mean, they're still
going to school. They're still learning. Like, that's why I think a school is such a
and I see it.
Such a good place. I think school is such a good place for little humans because they learn things that they could not learn being just around us all day. They need to it's like through osmosis. Is that what it is? Like through like just being in there, they're just learning it. And like, it's so important. So like, I think a lot of things are learned between that like K to 6, 7, 8, like whenever school starts getting really hard, you know?
Well, it's like a piece
when you
of the
really
puzzle.
Start being like, oh, you either don't like it, you don't want to be there anymore, or you thrive in that. And I was like, oh, don't like it, don't want to be here anymore. Just let me get through it so that I can move on. I just want to be an adult. I just want a job.
Yeah. Do you think if kids, if you looked at like this piece of paper and it was a puzzle and it was like, let's say a kid's life, and let's say there was 20 pieces, you know, beginning, you know, baby till now, do you think that to start the puzzle, you should probably already have, you know, half the puzzle done, like by someone else, meaning like upbringing, like school, and then you can start, you know, not earning, but like doing your part to like mold in this and then add another piece, because like you said, I'm not teaching my kid kindergarten, nothing in that element. I don't know all of it, like, and I don't have enough patience.
We had COVID kindergarten, so we had to kind of go through this, and y'all, Anybody,
take that. The choice we chose for upbringing was, yes, it was new for everybody. Things are sent home. Do this, do that. But I'm like, I have to look at the good and then the bad. The good is like, thank goodness that it's COVID. It's kindergarten. Because I'm like, I asked everybody, what do they do in kindergarten normally? Well, it's a lot about coping skills and kids and being in a classroom. I'm like, okay, we'll hang out when we can with people, whatever it may be. But I mean, if they were in 6th grade, all your parents out there that have kids at that age, and you're like, no, go do your homework. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Ooh, had been so hard.
I go crazy. I go crazy. So like going back to like the puzzle, I think it should be, you shouldn't have to put every piece of the puzzle down. I think it should be, 1/3 done by someone else as their upbringing, and you're responsible for like a whole other world of just like, look, being there for your kid and just.
I mean, it takes an army.
That's just the teaching phase.
But it takes a lot. Like there's more influences in your child's life than you actually realize. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes it doesn't come out until like when they're older. Like I remember so-and-so, coach so-and-so who had like such an effect on me, who I loved so much. Like I remember this teacher I had in elementary school, Madame Weeb, who was like the nicest human being ever, who I always felt like I don't know, I was probably, I want to say 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I'm not 100% sure, but like she took extra effort to always like help me out with things, me and my other friend. And like, she was just, I don't know, she's just like a very vivid memory in my brain. And you don't realize that influence that like maybe a teacher or a coach or a friend's parent or, a piano lesson teacher or something like that they really have.
A friend or an uncle or whoever you are, like, we're always uncles and aunts to every one of our friends. But like every time we try to, every time I hang out with everybody, like all the kids and like even like we all went camping.
Oh yeah,
like,
they love Zach.
I like cruise around and like
Zach is like the jungle gym.
If you ever have but also if that's the case, like you have an in that another parent might not, and vice versa. You know, like you're saying, like your coach. If something's going wrong, how many times have you seen in a movie or real life, depicted story of like the kids has something going on and they tell their teacher or their parent or their coach
because they can feel like they can trust. Yeah, true.
So it's really important to instill that. Like if you are that friend, that uncle, that second dad, or whatever it may be, like I try to do it a lot of just like, hey, if there's ever something going on that you ever need to talk about, like, let's say you don't want to tell your parents, you can always tell me anything you want, and that's that open door. That's the coach that you just kind of described. So I think that's super important to because everybody, going back to what you said, has influence on everything. Every little thing. It's just up to that kid to when they're going to open the door to let it in.
Sure. Yeah, it's wild.
So
upbringing is more than just your parents. I mean, it's so much. I mean, it's parental until you go to school, essentially.
Yeah, but then
kind
parents,
of like,
what do they
but
let
then
you do?
You're so little, so like they're just kind of. But then you've got, well, maybe not, because you're going to a preschool or a daycare or something. So those people are like, you're influential because you're spending more time in that person's care than you are in actual. Because it's not every parent gets to be at home with their child. Mm-hmm.
And then you lose a lot of the influence, like you said, when they go to preschool or something. And then it comes as a parent of like the umbrella effect kind of kicks in of like, what's going on with my kid? Why is not? So I don't think there's any like better thing you could do when you send your kid somewhere, unless, you take them out and go somewhere else, which is fine. But there's also the avenue of it opens the door of like talking to your kid about how was school today? Well, today at school, so-and-so did this or whatever.
So when you do get like those couple hours, those are like crucial hours together because you're still their upbringing, but like, I've never really looked at it that much, like how you really only have so much influence until you kind of don't. So you have to do the best dang hard work in those times that you have to make sure that you are, working on developing like a functional, well-rounded, respectful human being.
And I think, with a younger kid, pick and choose when you're going to bring up the conversations of what you want to talk about. It's very, I've seen it's very difficult to try to have a conversation with our child in our house when like the TV is where she knows what's around. Yes. So I'll always try to have conversations like if we go biking around or like let's go for a walk around town. You
like to have conversations with her in the car.
Yeah,
I feel like
just wherever it's away from what they're normal. If they're in a space and they're normally used to watching TV here, then they're gonna just at some point, the second they're gonna be bored, which is very quickly, they're gonna be like, just their brains on. I want to watch TV. Oh, okay, yep, you're right. Yep, I know.
Do you remember that in your upbringing? Like, do you remember your parents ever like trying to talk to you or like asking you? Like, do you remember any of those kind of things that you do with Aria? Did your parents do that with you?
I think my dad did. Because we played so much sports, so there's so much time because we were at separate teams all the
Traveling.
time. Separate, yeah, like driving to and from
Sure.
games, or bike rides were a big one. We would go you'd go on 1 lake, 2 lake, 3 lakes in Minnesota, and then you go eat at restaurant at this Vietnamese restaurant.
So would you do that like was that a weekend thing, or was that like a after school thing, or
probably weekend?
Okay.
Probably weekend, because I mean,
when else would you do it? Like I find like evenings go by so fast, like between picking her up, doing an activity, or hitting the grocery store, getting home, trying to do homework, prepping dinner, trying to go to bed at a decent time. All of a sudden it's like, boom, like where would you have time to do that? You know, dinner time.
No, because I don't remember being dark, but I remember a lot. But here's the crazy thing: when you
maybe in the summer, maybe you remember summers because
true.
Like
yeah, it
had to be summer because it's Minneapolis, so the weather sucks.
It was enough that I could legit. You could blindfold me and just take me on a golf cart down the path of the multiple miles, and I'd tell you exactly where we are,
really,
every single moment, what's on that side, what color house, if it's still every single. That's how much we went bike riding, and it was a big deal because you'd go by yourself.
So would you go just you and your dad, or would all the kids go and your dad?
Sometimes it'd be me, dad. I think Josh too. I don't know if they always went.
Crazy, huh? It's hard to but maybe they were there and this is all you remember.
That's what I mean. What you remember. Yeah. And here's the crazy thing. It could have been, wild. I know it was more than 5 times, but I mean, like when you have the memory of like, man, all the time we used to go here. Like, and then let's say your dad or mom were like, we did that once.
You're like, well, that was a good one time.
Influential certain moments are. So when you're having those moments, those upbringing moments with your kids, I mean, quadruple down. You know, like just make it the most memorable thing you can. And then, you know, if they're having fun, open the door and have a conversation, or, you know, just enjoy those moments.
I wonder if Aria will remember, but like, you know, when she wants to talk to me, when it's bath time, because she'll have a bath and I'll have a shower. It's in the same room.
That's your therapy. She's
literally,
her bathtub's like the couch and she's standing above her listening.
Literally, like, I wonder how long she's going to be okay with like showering and bathing and being like naked. And obviously we're getting ready for bed, right? And like, I wonder how long she's going to let that happen. And I wonder, like, this is where she asked me like hard questions. Like she was asking me about death the other day. Like,
that's great.
She doesn't like to say death. It's D. Mom, don't say dead. I don't like it. D. Like, so when people D, where do they go? And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. These are hard questions, you know, like just constant, because I think it's where we slow down, where there's no other distractions for us. Mm-hmm. And it's just her and I. So she feels like a safe space to do it there. Yeah. But I wonder if she'll like remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I like to always let the kids tell me, because whatever we tell a kid, they're going to think that's the way. So instead, like, you know, where do people go when they die? Like, well, what do you think?
I like to give her the best parenting hack that I will tell anybody. Instead of answering right away, answer with a question.
Oh, always.
Answer with a question, because let their little brains work. It gives you a moment to sit back and go, what am I going to say here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was asking me about God and, you know, and about church and about like all sorts of things that were coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, what happened today that you've got all this in your brain? Or what's happening that you're unloading this all right now from your little brain? And like, I kind of like to do those as like couples, because we bounce off each other really, really well. But same thing, I just give her, I shoot it back with another question. Like, and she'd give it to me. I'm like, okay, good answer. Shoot it back with another question. But yeah, that's my parenting tip for today. I don't have many, but that one is a good one.
All right. So parents raise us, you know, to the age that we are. When do you think they stop raising us? Is it when we move out of the house by ourselves? Is it when we're an adult and we have our own kid? Or do parents always have influence on us? Because
I think it depends what kind of things you go through in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go through a tough time, I think you always reach back to comfort, and that's like going back to your parents, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't know what to do, you're struggling, you're stressed, like they're your security blanket. So you probably go back there. I think it's different for everybody, to be honest. What do you think?
The one thing I have seen is, because of our age group, you know, when we grew up, our parents didn't have social, didn't have phones, even though they do now, but all they really know is just, you know, how to go on social, and that's it. But I'm saying just the using factor of this, we're growing with it because we have to adapt. But I think at some age, you become the parent to your parent. And that might be teaching them things, that might be money, because things change. It's not always going to be the same, but they always think it's going to be the same. Hence, it's very tough to break a parent of their ways because
So you think Aria's going to feel that way with us at some point?
I think it's going to be different with our generation to our kids.
Okay.
It's only I'm 40, what, 2, 3?
You're 42.
Yeah.
I told the girl at the grocery store the other day, she asked me for my ID. And I said, I'm 42. She looks at my ID and she gives me this dirty look. And I was like, what? She's like, you're not 42. I'm like, I'm going to be 42 in November. She's like, nobody rounds up their age when they're 42.
It's just
like, I don't know. I was like, died laughing. She's like, nobody does that. She's like, you should stop doing that.
Yeah, watch the next episode because there's a question I'm going to ask in regards to that. But I think, we're going to have the same stuff that Aria has growing up where our parents did not have it. So we're going to evolve with our child. We're going to be using the same things as our child. But the fact that our parents did not, I've seen that we become the parent. But I've even told my mom that. And there's nothing wrong with that. They spend their whole lives raising you. So they should release some of the control. And if we tend to, let's say, know more and adapt to the world that we live in, they should let it in. But it's very difficult. They always know the best and whatever, but I think eventually parents.
I think adaptive parenting is like the best parenting. You know what I mean? Like you don't always know it all. You don't have all the answers. You're always going to have questions, even like to parent when your kids are now adults parenting their own children and you're the grandparent. Like, I think you just got to adapt to everything. And like, it's hard to remember that, you know what I mean? Because like, even now I think I know best, right? Like a friend says something to me and you're like, nuh-uh, I know best. Like I know. And it's like, okay, maybe I don't. Maybe you do know something that I don't know. Maybe you have an idea that's like brilliant that I could incorporate into my life. It's just adapting. And I think
things aren't black and white either.
But I think like we get so personal and so like protective of things that we forget to kind of open up and adapt a little bit, and I think that's sorry to cut you off, but like, I think that's our parents' issue a lot of the time because there wasn't other streams other than just your friends maybe telling you what to do. But now like you can Google like how to become a better parent. You can watch a podcast from doctors and like proven facts. Everything is at your fingertips. Everything is at your fingertips. And it wasn't for our parents growing up when we were growing up. So I think that's,
Yeah, so it's going to change. We just have to evolve with that as we raise our kids and just know everything's not black and white. When someone says something to us, whether it be how to do something, there's 15 more things that are involved of how someone's life is going that way and like where they thought about doing whatever they're telling you what's the right way to do it. I mean, like,
could you imagine if we still had this podcast in like 15 years, we had this like podcast with Aria and asked her like these questions about growing up?
Ask the same questions.
Oh my gosh, it would be so crazy to hear her answers.
All these things are going to be very easily accessible because everything is digitized and filmed and whatever it may be. But the main thing is just, we are very influential on our children, which I think everybody knows. But I think people don't know how influential we are in the surroundings that they're at. So it's mainly, going back to the communication is just finding that way to, on a daily basis, just have that communication. Doesn't need a breakthrough. Just always have that door open and want, you don't want your kid to shut that door on you, which I think it probably will happen.
Teenagers.
But I don't know. I'm being my parent, or I'm being our parents to us back in the day when they probably thought the same thing, and they're like, and then we grew up like, just wait, you'll see, they're gonna hate you. I'm gonna be more on the side that
I'm not okay with that.
because also, but there's people that I know. The friend that I ran into that has a 12-year-old, she's like, my kid is awesome.
Except your kid is only 12.
She still wants to hug me and give me kisses. And I'm like, at 12, I'm like, cool, I got 4 more years guaranteed because I know what kind of parent I am and I know who you are. I'm like, all right. So
I always ask Aria, I said, are you going to like still hold my hand? Like come to Disneyland with me? Yeah, of course, Mom. I'm like, you say this now, but okay. I'm
it's
like,
only when the coolness factor.
Say this here into my phone so that when you don't want to, I'm like, this is your voice. You did say this. I love you.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna end it there. So just remember, you guys, be open with your kids. Understand that you're very influential and
ask questions.
Ask questions. Be open.
Ask questions.
There's no right or wrong answer. Create the one with each other and do that. So.
And then where can everybody follow us?
Everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. Everywhere you could probably stream us, watch us. We are on that platform. So just search Money Marriage Magic and check us out.
You'll see us there. Thanks for watching, you guys. We really appreciate y'all. Hope your week's going great. See you later.
Bye.
It's cheaper than therapy.
Yep.